"Ma'am, without ID, we're out of options," the officer declared, his hand already moving toward the handcuffs. Rain poured steadily over the gas station parking lot, drenching everything in a bleak gray hush. The woman stood motionless next to her broken-down SUV, her clothes soaked, her hands in plain sight. "You can't just arrest someone for misplacing their wallet," she said quietly, her voice steady despite the cold biting at her skin. The second officer, positioned by the patrol car, stepped closer, his patience visibly thin. "We got a report of a suspicious individual lingering around here. You fit the description. No ID, no name, no explanation. You're coming with us." She didn't protest. She didn't fight back. She simply lowered her gaze and let the cuffs snap around her wrists. Not because she was guilty, but because she understood something they didn't. No one bothered to ask who she was. No one paused to consider that something might not add up. The onlookers, who had seen her quietly attempting to contact roadside assistance from her stalled vehicle, now merely watched as she was guided to the back of the police cruiser. A woman alone, taken into custody not for her actions, but for her appearance and what she didn't have at that moment. At the station, they didn't process her correctly. They didn't make the necessary calls. They left her seated on a rigid bench in the lobby, wrists still bound. While the two officers who arrested her chatted casually about paperwork, one of them muttered, "Why is she so quiet?" The other replied, "If I were innocent, I'd be making noise." The first shrugged. Some folks think staying silent makes them seem clever. She wasn't quiet to seem clever. She was quiet because she knew her identity would soon speak for itself. 37 minutes later, the station's front door creaked open. Not rushed, not loud, but deliberate and heavy. A man entered, tall, broad-shouldered, clad in a black suit, still wet from the rain. His face was impassive, like steel cloaked in composure. He didn't ask where she was. He didn't raise his voice. His eyes locked onto her immediately, sitting alone, handcuffed, posture upright. Then his gaze shifted to the officers. Before anyone could say a word, the police chief stepped out of his office. His confident stride faltered when he saw the man in the doorway, his face drained of color. "Director Khan," he said softly, the title catching in his throat. The room went utterly still. One officer's pen slipped from his hand. Omar Khan didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. He moved past the stunned front desk, walked straight to the bench, and pulled a key from his pocket. Without a word, he knelt, unlocked the cuffs from his wife's wrists, and gently helped her stand. The silence in the room roared louder than any siren. That's when it hit them. The woman they'd handcuffed in the rain. The woman they'd dismissed and overlooked. She was Dr. Aisha Khan, celebrated cryptologist, co-director of the National Cyber Defense Initiative, and one of the nation's highest-ranking intelligence officers. The officers stood rooted in place as the truth crashed over them like icy water. Omar turned to the chief. "Your team detained a federal officer," he said, his voice low, eerily calm. "Denied her rights, blocked her access to a phone, and never once asked her name." The chief looked down, his lips twitching, but no words came. There was no defense, no justification, just the heavy guilt that comes when authority collides with truth. Aisha looked at the two officers who had arrested her. She wasn't angry. She didn't lecture. Her eyes carried something far weightier than anger: disappointment. "I've dedicated 20 years to this country," she said. "I've cracked codes in war zones, faced spies across tables, and helped prevent 4 cyber attacks that could have crippled our cities. But you saw me wet, alone, and silent, and you assumed I was a threat. They had no response." She walked out beside her husband. The door clicked shut behind them, and in the silence that lingered, not one officer stirred. The apology was never voiced. It didn't need to be, because sometimes the weight of a mistake is measured in silence. And sometimes the most powerful person in the room doesn't demand respect with shouts. They simply rise, unshackle, and leave you standing amid the ruins of your own assumptions. Before we close out this story, drop a comment and tell us where you're watching from. Don't just scroll by, we're reading every single one. If this story moved you, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comments.